NFR Extra, we're going to take you behind the scenes in a way you've never heard before. Every 2 weeks, you're going to hear personal conversations with the icons and personalities that make up the world's richest and most prestigious rodeo. NFR Extra. All dirt, all rodeo, all year.
I'm your host, Nevada Caldwell.
And I'm Rockin' Robbie Hodges.
And we've served up a nice one here.
Yes, sir. The legend, the man, the owner of Red Rock.
Yes.
And with, and the whole thing, what we dive into with Lane and everything. And
oh, man.
You're going to see how emotional he gets about that still. And it's been, 30 years.
We're talking about stock contractor John Growney.
John Growney was here. And then great bronc rider.
A champion?
Four-time world champ.
I just want to add this because I like this after, talking to him. So, Brad Gjermundson falls out of bed as a champion.
Yeah, every day.
And what's amazing is you meet this guy, and a lot we talk about, but you don't realize if you meet him, he doesn't need to tell you he's a champion, and he's like probably the most humble champion I've ever met.
Absolutely, he feels not worthy, but he's amazing. Back in the '80s, I had this picture on my wall, and it's so cool to get to do this interview, and I really, really think you're going to enjoy these two, and they get off in there pretty deep with us.
Yeah, well, Brad goes in some things that.
How to win.
Yeah, absolutely how to win. I think it starts with his demeanor, first of all.
Yeah.
And then, Growney, man.
Quiet confidence.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you're talking about Brad. Yeah. And then Growney, wow, man, he's open. He's
not quiet confidence.
But his energy's great.
Exactly.
And, we can talk about some Lane Frost stuff here.
Yep.
Red Rock.
How to promote that thing.
Yes.
That was very interesting to me. I think you're really going to see a different side of John that we didn't know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Enjoy.
You bet.
This is Brylan Bentley presenting Rodeo News of the Week. December 10th, you can find the contestants' autograph session at NFR Central with the steer wrestlers starting at 12 o'clock. Flag Girl competition in the Wrangler Rodeo Arena at 12:30. Mirage presents Rodeo Vegas at 6:30. Gilly's Saloon at Treasure Island. Reba Brooks and Dunn at 7:30 at Caesar's Palace. Josh Ward, 8 p.m. at South Point Hotel and Casino. Lainey Wilson at Silverton Casino. Brett Rigby, Eastside Cannery. Double wide at MGM Grand in the Gold Buckle Zone. Now, let's rewind to last night's rodeo.
Round number 4 of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo is in the books, and it turned out really, really good. Just a fun go-around to watch, really.
Yeah, it was really fun. Some big scores, fast times in the timed events. Fourth performance here at the Wrangler NFR, and it didn't let us down. It was really good.
Starting to see some patterns form now for the most part. Guys and gals that are starting to find their groove. Orrin Larson was the winner in bareback riding. 90 points for him.
Yeah, you mentioned guys finding their groove. Orrin Larson found his. 90 points, those big, long legs. How good did that look? Larson gets his first win of the week.
Richard Chambers, he was the runner-up to Tyler Wagaspack last year, but this is his first ever go-around win, 3.6 seconds.
Boy, and don't get him rolling this early at the Wrangler NFR. You don't think his adrenaline isn't going right there? Wow.
Boy, the team in team roping was Chad Masters and Joseph Harrison.
That Joseph Harrison, he rocked one right there. 3.7 seconds. People don't realize how fast that is.
It was a 2 victory lap night for the Wright family. The first in saddle bronc riding, Rusty Wright.
Yeah, Rusty now has a score on all his broncs here at the Wrangler NFR. Took over the lead for the average, and he has an outside chance of winning the world title.
Here's one of those themes I was talking about. Shane Hanchy, he's now won 2 out of the first 4 rounds.
Yeah, Hanchy, it seems like when he draws a good calf, he takes advantage of it. Right here, Hanchy wins his second round of the week.
Same story on the barrel racing side for Emily Miller. She's won 2 out of 4. She's really rolling.
Emily Miller is nearing $100,000 in the last 4 days. What a week she has started right now.
In bull riding, here comes the other ride. Not a great start again for Stetson Wright. He's also won 2 out of 4 rounds.
Boy, he doesn't let a weird start foul him up when he rides bulls. He just comes and gasses it. Great ride again, 91 points. That's really going to help him in the all-around race.
Yeah, you talk about youthful exuberance. Boy, does he have it. He's dripping in it. He has won 2 rounds and kind of put a little distance between himself. Clay Smith, Tuff Cooper, Caleb Schmidt off to a slow start. He's starting to fall well behind. Ram Top Gun, if you win the most money in the single event, well, you're going to wind up with a new Ram truck. We talked about Emily Miller right there. $98,000 plus for her. Shane Hanchy kind of right there too, but the bottom line is she's in a little better spot than the average right now. They will get busy. The midway point of the 2019 Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. It starts tonight on CBS Sports Network.
Looking for tickets to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo? StubHub is the official secondary and fan-to-fan site of the rodeo. Fans can buy and sell their tickets through a safe and secure online marketplace. Visit nfrexperience.com.
Robbie,
Hey, man.
what's going on?
Oh, having a good morning
Yeah,
here.
okay.
Yep, this is day 4.
What? And we're continuing, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
This deal's working out pretty good for us.
Yes,
I love
it
our
is.
new rolling insane asylum here that we have.
Yeah. Well, we're learning more and more every single day. It was weekly, now it's daily, and a living legend among stock contractors. Also a good bull rider back in the day in his younger years. Welcome to the show, John Growney.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to be on these deals.
Yeah, you make me laugh. I've never seen a guy when we do rodeos and stuff, and you go, John's always got a smile most of the time. I've seen him without it a few times, but generally, this is the happiest guy in the rodeo business right here.
So, we're here at the NFR. We're here at Cowboy Christmas, actually, right? We're in the NFR Extra Bloomer studio, right?
It's
AKA.
a dandy, I might add.
Yeah.
Kind of
It
nice.
actually looks nice in here, but it's a tiny little son of a gun.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
I know.
John, it gets us all close, so we
Okay.
get all
Yeah.
intimate and open
Awkwardly.
up.
We
a little.
are.
In your awkwardly closed studio right here.
We were looking right at Tough Edelman yesterday. We had to look him in his eyes.
I
and,
know.
I think he got a little uncomfortable, but it got good after a
Yeah,
while.
I don't like to intimidate the little fella.
No.
He's intimidating as it is.
Yes, I know.
Well, we're here. We got 35 years, been here in Las Vegas with the NFR. A lot of good moments have happened. You've been attached to a lot of things that have happened in these 35 years. One of the things that let's get in the mix. Let's talk about Red Rock, Don Kish, that bull, and what it means to you, and kind of what it's done. I think what for your business and everything else, right?
Right. I was 27 years old when I got in the rodeo business. So you think because I watched Cotton Rosser, I watched, Mike Serby, watched them all, and I'm going to be like them. That's what you get handed. Who you are, and because you don't know any different, so you start doing your thing, and you don't realize that all these things, if you do it right, start elevating you and your growth to become better in who you are. And so we were in the rodeo business. We got in '77, and in 1984 we bought Red Rock from this Mert Hunking, an amateur stock contractor. And I could bore you, but it's not boring to me because it's an emotional roller coaster ride that you're on in your whole life. And this Mert Hunking was dying of cancer. And he knew Donnie and I. And Kish had him at this Red Rock at an amateur rodeo when he was 17 years old or something like that. And the bull almost knocked him out because when Red Rock bucked these guys off, he'd just drive them in the ground.
Oh, man.
And so we knew the bull. And then when Jerome Robinson was putting on rodeos in Portland and Tacoma, he'd bring Mert Hunking some of his good broncs and some of his bulls, and he'd bring Red Rock. So we got to watch Red Rock. Well, anyway, Mert had cancer, and he was fighting it, and he needed to sell Red Rock. He was selling his business, and this is the emotional part because he went and watched every stock contractor in the Northwest, how they took care of their animals, where they were going and everything. And we're just a young rodeo company, and he liked what we were doing, so he called me. He goes, "Hey, I want to sell you Red Rock." So I knew we wanted him, and he wanted $10,000, and then nobody had ever paid $10,000 for a bull. And I told him, "Well, I don't think I can afford him." He goes, "I'll finance you. You can afford him. You got to have him."
Nice.
So that was in 1984, he brought Red Rock to Red Bluff, California, and just came the day before the roundup, and we had him entered in it. He threw his cowboy off. We already knew we had this great bull, but we didn't know 4 more years was going to tell us how great this bull was.
Yep.
And so just one little thing after another. I've got lots of Red Rock stories to tell you. It made you realize that he just wasn't a bull. There was a little bull rider inside this bull.
Nice.
And he knew what he wanted to do every time. So
He was. I used to watch the old bull. We were talking about it yesterday with Tough, the old bull riding heroes. And you remember the old videos when they, when the George Paul and George Michael. Stop. Okay.
George Michael Sports Machine.
Yes, thank you very much.
great man.
No worries, yeah.
Great man.
That's how I learned
1,
rodeo.
2,
Right.
3.
George Michael.
I used to watch him, Red Rock, in those old videos in there, and George Michael Sports Machine and all that stuff. He always bucked so stiff-legged. Do you know what I mean? He never gave, did he? It had to jar the fillings out of your teeth. Is that what everybody said?
Yeah, and another thing, those bull riders, all bull riders do it to this day. they get up on their rope and they get their spurs in, they get their knees in. They're wiggling. Well, the whole time they're wiggling. This old Red Rock, and one time, we had to catch him because he couldn't go with any other bull. So
Really?
when he was out, I had to be in the back sort of watching because Kish was flanking. And we had to catch him because a big old fight would break loose when he.
Would he fight you, or would he just kind of?
No, he'd fight the bulls.
Oh, that's what I mean.
He wasn't a bull. He just was a person.
I got you, exactly.
And he was going to kick, out of somebody.
I got you.
But anyway, he's jacked up. So Ricky had the scar on his face.
Ricky Bone. No, Ricky Lindsay.
Ricky
Okay, we'll
Lindsay.
start that over. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
you're good.
1, 2, 3,
So
go.
Ricky Lindsay has him, and Ricky Lindsay brings me this rock. And that's back when the pet rock was singing. He's going, when I'm done with this bull, you're going to want this thing, because I'm going to make a pet rock out of this.
I can't
So,
imagine
and I'm
any
in the
different.
back, and it's at Livermore, and those Powder River panels, they all are the same size and everything. Pretty soon I'm watching this bull. He goes down to 2 rungs.
Whoa.
And most of the time a bull rider can feel it, but he'd do it with all 4 legs, just getting that spring.
little. Oh, boy.
And so they never felt it, and he'd never lean on them. He wouldn't move around. He wouldn't do anything. So they'd go, is this him? And this is him. So they'd nod their head, and this bull would just spring out of there. And he thought those good guys, they never made 2 jumps, because he would jump so high and so hard and then dive to that ground, like you said, stiff, and then he'd just drive them in the ground. So
He did. And he would. It's almost like his front legs never bent when he hit the ground.
Well,
Golly.
it sounds like a roller coaster.
Like a mule
like
bucket.
Well, I don't know what it was, but even Cody Lambert was saying every bull rider that ever got on Red Rock, their wrist hurt after they got done riding him. So he was doing something to hurt him.
Yeah,
And,
tugging on them probably,
Right.
and like you said, a stiff like Brad's over here, like getting on a mule that bucks. A stiff-legged mule.
so I don't know how much you want to go into this, but
No, that's great.
Absolutely.
There's one story that, Cody Lambert had Red Rock at Ellensburg, and it bucked him off pretty fast. But Cody Lambert he studies everything. He knows. And so at Cedarville, we had the next year, we're at the Cedarville Rodeo, and Lane wasn't with him, but they came up. I think Tuff was there, and Charlie Sampson and Ted News. And so they came up from Reno to get in this little $1,000 out of rodeo, but that was still a pretty good rodeo back then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this Cody, without saying anything to anybody, gets both the gate guys, the guy tripping the latch, and they go, when I nod my head, no matter where I am on this bull, you open that gate. And so he just was sitting back on the flank almost with his hand all ready to go. He nodded, and they opened that gate, and Red Rock looked outside of that gate going, what's going on here? And it took him about 6.5 seconds to buck Cody off. But when it did buck him off, it knocked him out.
Oh, yeah. Tried to cheat him, didn't
he?
he?
Yeah, he tried to
sneak up on him.
So anyway, here Cody and Lane and all those guys are really good friends. Cody never shared that with anybody. So with the first match we did with Lane at Red Bluff, it hurts him. It just drives him in the ground. So then the next week at Clovis, it knocks him where he doesn't really know where he is. And so myself and Cody goes out there and sort of turns Lane around and brings him back to the bucket chutes. And Cody looks at me and he goes, hey, we got to tell him the deal or this bull's going to kill him.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, and then he told Lane that, hey,
Jump in.
when you jump to your rope, be going at the same time. And so that sort of took a little edge away from Red Rock, but they still had some great matches.
Oh my gosh, yeah. How many people do you really think knew that? I mean, after a little later on, do you think that anybody
You're one of the
else
first guys I shared that with.
Really?
Right.
Well, thank you.
Because-
Holy cow.
That's awesome.
Because Cody, that was just he was so wise.
Yeah.
I can brag on that. That was quite a. Dale Hall used to say he thought he really had some great bulls till that carload showed up.
Yeah.
And he didn't think he had such
You
great
better
bulls.
believe it.
I got a question. So, was Red Rock the first bull put into the Hall of Fame, or was
No,
B-71 or
I think Oscar was there,
Yeah.
and there was a couple of bulls before that. The only thing that we do know that Red Rock, and it's because we got to know those guys, and then we proved that Red Rock deserved to be the world champion bull, the bucking bull of the year, and he was the first West Coast bull to be selected as the bucking bull of the year.
Well, okay, so you brought up Lane. We're still talking about Red Rock. Let's talk about this Challenge of Champions. I remember that. So
I think it's the greatest marketing.
That's what I was going to say.
I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I was at a livestock judging contest when I was a freshman at Chico State, and in Denver, and every year they'd have a match between the world champion and Descent was the horse at the time, and they'd market it that way. They must have paid that world champion to come and get on Descent, and he was bucking horse of the year quite a few times. And so I remember that, and I took marketing classes, and that's it. So, But I never thought it would affect me ever in my lifetime, but I thought it was a great idea. All of a sudden, we had Red Rock, who was the Buck and Bull of the Year in 1987, and then the IRA was getting to know Lane, and we were hanging out a little bit, and Cody and all those guys. And then we knew that Lane had a shot at doing that. And we didn't hardly tell anybody, but I talked to Lane. I go, Lane, if you win this world championship, we need to do this match. And we had retired Red Rock in 1987, right after, I think, who was last? Cody, God, I know him really well too. Little guy from Arizona.
Cody Custer.
Cody Custer was the last guy to have Red Rock at a rodeo, and that was at the NFR here in 1987. Nice. And so when Lane won it, I knew it was a great idea. But I was doing it sort of half-assed. I just knew I had these two great guys. But Sue Rosoff, who was a photographer and everything like that, and then George Michaels, who loved Lane Frost. He'd do anywhere Lane was, and George Michael had the opportunity to be there. He and Lane were going to be somewhere. And then George got involved, and Kendra got involved, and then Linda Rosser's, Cotton Rosser's first wife, she got involved. Wow. So we had this great bunch of people that knew other people.
Nice.
And USA Today got into, the Chronicle got into, Sports Illustrated, that they could understand this challenge of these two champions. And that's what we lack nowadays in the rodeo world, is it's hard to sell because we're just selling an event, and we're not selling these two champions going at it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no doubt.
I fully agree with that.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's stay with Lane.
Okay, it's hard to do, but
I'll get.
And you and I'll get a little emotional here when.
That's great.
Well, and it makes sense, right? Because we've heard is he really that nice? Is he really that kind of an individual?
Robbie just said, sometimes he sees me without a smile.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stress in putting on rodeos and stuff, but that Lane would show up and he'd be a whole arena length away from me, and he'd holler my name, and just him hollering my name would change my attitude.
Yeah.
This kid, he was it. He was an angel. He really was, and he affected so many people. So one time, I know we don't have a lot of time, but
we got all day.
Plenty of time.
Right after Lane died, I went to Denver and I met up with Cody and Tuff and Ty and Michael Gaffney, and I just hung out with them because we all felt this loss and we all felt this bond with each other. Yeah. And so I was with them, and that's when bull ridings were just starting, sort of open bull ridings. And so I was with Cody and Ty and Tuff and Jim Sharp, and we were going to a bull riding, and we stopped in a What's Up or something like that, All's Up. They're like our 7-Eleven or something like that. Nice. And there was about 5 high school rodeo kids, and they knew who Tuff and Cody were and everything. But Texas kids and most kids, especially around rodeo, are polite, so they never said one word. Well, those guys never said one word to them either. And so I saw it happening, and I didn't like it, but that wasn't my business to say something. So that night we're at a smorgasbord or some dang thing, and I can feel this whole place looking at us. And Cody and Tuff and those guys, they were just dumb to the world at the time or something. They didn't have a clue. And I'm eating, and finally I just stop and I go, hey, these people want to say hi to you, and you guys don't give them the time of day. And I shoot their asses out. Nice. And I told them about the kids that were back there. Then you never said hi to them, or you'd have made those kids, you'd have made their life. Yeah. And so they never said a word. And Cody's eating, and this is where it gets about half sad. He looks up at me and goes, that was Lane's job. Oh, Lane brought the people to the table.
Oh, wow.
And so that
is hard.
Right. Yeah. And so they didn't. But after that, I think 3 of the greatest spokesmen for bull riding were Ty, Tuff, and Cody.
That is a great story.
Right. Yeah. Because I think all of a sudden they realize now it's their job to take care of that. 100%. They got to take care of that legacy.
Let me just add something, Lane, because I manage our social media for NFR, and the impact. It's 2019, right?
31 years later.
Yeah. So just a post on social media garners a lot of engagement, right, for that. But even so, and this is something that I really impacted us earlier this year, and that's when, man, I'm drawing a blank, but it was the individual that played 8 seconds for him. It was Luke Perry,
good friend of ours.
So this tells you how powerful that was. Luke Perry had his own world, 90210, whatever. But when we shared the information that Luke had passed away, I can tell you that was one of the most highest performing type social posts from engagements of. My whole point is the extension of this guy played him. He portrayed Lane as an actor, but because of Lane and how big he was, that still resonated with everyone. Was like, Luke was one of our guys because of Lane.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was almost like he was a contestant.
Yes.
Isn't that, I mean, like he was one of the rodeo guys because mainly he acted like it. I mean,
Yeah.
he would come.
He
and
looked a lot like him and everything.
Yes.
Cody Lambert, when I got there, I had a little part in the thing, and it took me like forever to learn it. But anyway, I thought it was going to be easy, and it was tough. But when Cody first saw me, he goes, "John, you're going to be amazed how much this guy looks and acts like him." But those actors, he didn't look exactly like him. I didn't even think he had brown eyes and Lane had blue eyes or something.
Right.
But just he learned to be Lane Frost, and that's what those actors do. They learn to be somebody, and he was really great.
I mean,
Absolutely.
well, just powerful on the side of he had a career because of that. I mean, like the Lane thing is just, to me, is just mind blowing with who he was.
Yeah.
And I guess you saying an angel makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
only get a few of those
the
in this
sad thing
world.
about Lane is for all this, we wouldn't even be sitting here talking right now if Lane hadn't died.
yeah.
He would have been another world champion bull rider, and Red Rock would have been another buck and bull of the year.
Think about this too. Talk about the whole kindness piece that you're talking about. Think about how he just kept building that. What kind of example that he would have created for longer term? Someone that gets to stand around a long time, and they just start creating a bigger thing, and yeah, it's pretty powerful. Stuff.
And I know I'm not supposed to compare any Christian thing or anything like that to Lane Frost, but I don't even know how to say it. But
It's Sunday.
I know. But Jesus,
Yeah.
to this day, if he hadn't have died on the cross, he'd just been another guy that came and went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of his suffering and dying for us,
Yeah.
and I'm not a preacher at all.
No,
but,
it's all good. No, that's a good comparison.
But
I know
Lane
where you're
Frost,
going.
Lane Frost, in our rodeo world, and especially our little bull riding world,
Yeah.
those kids to this day, they weren't even born when he died, and they love and adore him. And his mom, Lane's mom, has carried that message in a Christian sense, and those kids gravitate. And I think because of her and because of Lane's death, there's a lot more Christian kids out there because of that.
Wow, I
man.
think that's great. Yeah. Hey,
And,
that was a
it's
sacrifice.
sad when you think about that.
It
But,
totally is.
But Lane's death immortalized him, and a lot of us just went for the ride with him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be, I'd still be John Growney, but the match and all that stuff, and then his death, and then that movie, and then the song Red Rock came out, and just so many things have happened. And then Elsie carrying the message about Lane Frost and what she does with these kids is just amazing.
Yeah, the Hollywood part of that, of course they're going to make drama. I mean,
Right,
every
they
show that we've ever-
glamorize.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but Clyde and Elsie are two of the greatest people.
Oh, right,
You know
right.
what I mean? And
No.
that's the only part of that movie that's
I gotta tell you how blessed I am. I had this extra ticket night before last,
right.
and we have really good seats. The Cervies and the Volts and all of them are sitting. We're right on the second row in this 2 seats that I have.
Speaking of Vol seats, we
Right.
got to talk about that in a minute. Jerry Nelson.
So anyway, I have this extra ticket, so I go to the gold card room, and everybody's left to go to the thing, and I'm just getting ready to leave, and the national anthem starts, so I stand up, and we're just in a room. Well, I look over there, and I see the back of this lady, and I already know it's Elsie.
Oh wow.
So I go, "Hey, cowgirl, you want a date for the night?" And so she and I sat together the whole thing, and it was just a blessing to be with her. Anytime I'm with her, she makes me smile.
I know that's great. I'm
But
so
it happened,
glad that
and
y'all are
that's
still
what
friends.
that's what happens in life, and you just got to be aware of the things that are happening around you,
Yep.
because there's so many great things happening to you. But some of us go through life with blinders on, and if you just open your eyes and feel the joy of life, so for her to be there, and for me to tease her, and we tease all the time, and she's like a mother image to me, even though she probably only I can't give her age away, but she's only like 10 years older than I am. She's a great lady and a great interview if you guys ever get a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me add some to that. So, and this is kind of a quote, I read this a while ago on social media. It kind of resonates pretty well. And to this point in Lane, you always say, you only live once, right? No, wrong. You live all the time. You only die once.
Yes.
And I believe that. And we, if we've done our job here on earth, they'll remember you. It's not how rich you are or anything else. It's that smile or that hello and remembering a name. And
absolutely,
I learned that a long time ago.
Hey,
I was
Brad,
raised in the car business.
Brad, can you believe he's a stock contractor? He's so non-typical, isn't he?
Makes sense why you're so popular. I'll tell you that. I'm learning right now.
You have
I don't know
developed-
about that. There's another thing. For you people out there, you can't see me, but I weigh 148 pounds, and there's enough of those guys that knock the crap out of me if I thought I was a big tough stock contractor. So it was easier to get along with them than it was to fight with them.
Right, it's not like Hank or somebody, that's
Right,
so big.
intimidating.
Yeah.
No.
All right. So let's switch some gears here, just so we can ramp it back up.
Because
I
we
got
can
a
go. We
question.
can go forever.
Yeah,
and
what
ever.
about what about tell us the Kish relationship with you and
Well, Donnie's sister and my sister married brothers.
Okay.
And then my dad, when I was, and I love my dad, so don't get me wrong
it's
here.
fine.
But my dad never had time for me.
Right.
He was surviving and doing his thing.
I'm trying to
here
feed
comes,
mine, yeah.
So here comes Donnie Kish along. And, he's 13, 14 years younger than I am. And my dad goes to his football games and everything, and he's working for my dad. And we know each other sort of through family. But I don't hardly know Donnie at all. And so he's on the ranch, and I'm still going to school at Cal Poly. And he's really smart. I mean, he learned everything. All right. So anyway, I already know I want to get in the rodeo business, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. But here he is, and he and I are becoming really close. And hell, I got him driving a cattle truck before he's 16 years old, and he can do it all. And so I knew I had this great partner, and so it drove me to him being there gave me the attitude because I knew I had help. I knew somebody had my back, and even though he was just a kid. So anyway, we go to the NFR in Oklahoma City. We drive our truck there. We almost get caught in a snowstorm. I think he's 16 and we're in a snowstorm and he's driving. And he was smart enough. This trucker comes by at Flagstaff and it's snowing. It's really snowing hard. And this trucker says, "Follow me," and kisses her. He just gets right in behind this truck.
Two-tracking.
And we finally get ahead of it, about 40, 50 miles down the road.
Oh, boy.
But then we never stop. We go all the way to Oklahoma City when we get there. But anyway, we got to meet Dale Hall. Great man. He was the bull man of the year back in those days. 105. And so anyway, he and Donnie really hit it off. And Dale Hall, every night after the rodeo, he lived close enough. It was like probably a 2 or 3 hour drive from Oklahoma City. But he was a teacher and a school bus driver and the whole thing. So he had to be back there the next day to do all this. Well, he just took Donnie along with him. And Donnie and him, Donnie was, innovative and wanting to learn stuff. And so Dale started teaching him about bucking bulls and how to raise them and stuff. And so we get home. And if you guys know Donnie, once he gets wound up, he just keeps talking. So we get home. And Donnie wants to go meet Bob Barnby. He's still alive, and he's part of that Oscar breeding program.
Yes,
and so here he is. He's probably 17 years old now. Then we go meet Bob Barnby. And a great story, history, that's what we need, historians in our
Absolutely.
world. So anyway, he really talks to Donnie and coaches him and teaches him a lot. And Donnie, Bob Cook, we bought him out. But we didn't buy. We thought we were going to get Oscar's Velvet, but we didn't get him because he just had him priced too high, and I thought it was too high. I should have bought him. I didn't have I could have got by. I'd have robbed Peter to pay Paul, but I'd have got him. But anyway, we did. But Bob had another bull called Fonzie that we didn't get, and he sold him at the sale at Oklahoma City, and Dale Hall and Donnie got together, and Bob Cook and Donnie weren't getting along very good then, so Dale Hall bought Fonzie for Donnie, and he brought him back home and bred all the Red Rock heifers that we ended up with.
Wow.
So Donnie's genetics was the Oscar breeding and the Red Rock daughters. And right off the get-go, here comes Wolfman and Outlaw. And we took 6 of his bulls when they were old enough. all out of that breeding program in 1 year to the finals. And then he just kept bringing all these Oscar breeding bulls.
Wow.
But Donnie, through Dale Hall, learned how to do that. So this is in, well, Red Rock's still alive. So this is in the mid-'80s or that they get this done. And it turned out good. I was really proud of him for that. We were always known for our bulls.
Absolutely. I got to tell you one of my favorite Don Kish story. In 2011, the year after I did the NFR, we went up and did Bremerton that year, and it was so one of the guys, I can't remember who it was, got bucked off, and I mean I had a shot. Okay, so I'm in the barrel, and I go packing it off in there and I cut him off, and when he did, that bull hit my barrel so hard it knocked him out. Do you remember that?
You were there then?
Yes, sir.
Right.
That was me, and it knocked me about half silly, and it knocks the bull, and I'm laying over. Well, Diefenbach comes running over and stands me up, and he says, "He's out, mate. He's out." And I said, "No, I'm not you, you stupid. It's the bull's out." So I kind of stagger out of the barrel, okay, and everybody it's quiet. So this bull is shaking, and all of a sudden he just comes to. You remember?
Yeah.
And the only thing I remember of that is Bumgarner is at the gate. He's in the let-out gate when they let him out, and I walked by him about half-addled, and he goes, "Far out, man." You remember that?
Oh, everybody, you know, I've never seen a bull get knocked out before like that.
He hit the barrel so hard with me, it knocked him out. So then here's the scary part of it, okay? I've just knocked one of Don Kish's bulls unconscious, okay? So I had to go back there, and because I had a shot to pack it in there. It was trying to say,
right, you're supposed to.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And he walks over and he's sitting on the tailgate with the Coors, and he says, I said, "We okay?" He said, "You're fine, son." And after that, we never had a bull. But I respected those animals so much. It scared me, and I hated that. But he was so kind.
Man, I didn't know you're knocking out bulls, Rob.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. He's
that
big
may be
old
a world
fat boy,
record.
right?
Sorry, this ain't about me, but I'm trying to describe about what
Donnie Kish was like.
he's just a great guy.
Yeah. We all had we worked at our attitude, and I think, you know, because of that, we became friends of the cowboy. And when everybody's getting along, you know, everybody would jump in and help. And I saw that when I was younger. We used to go to a lot of flying. I used to go to a lot of flying U rodeos.
Yep.
And if Cotton was there, pretty soon everybody was dragging their feet, didn't want to help or do anything. But we'd go to the, you know, Jack Odom and Lee Rosser, and Lee was just a young kid. We'd go to where they were putting on the rodeos. Hell, we all jumped in and helped, picked up whatever you needed. We were all in it, you know.
Yeah.
And so, if with kindness gets you a lot further than being a
Well,
mean.
that's exactly right, and just have fun at this deal.
Right,
you
right,
know?
and it is. When that band starts playing, if you're in the rodeo world at all, if you don't feel that, you don't
do
you want out.
something.
Yeah, go do something
Yes.
else too.
And the day that happens, we're all leaving.
That's right.
It, so you know. But,
Let's get back to the NFR.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've been coming, and one of the things we're finding, this is kind of the nostalgic part, right? 35 years. Where were you staying when you were coming back in the 80s when it started coming here to Vegas?
Okay. Well, the first stop to get go. It's so now you've been doing your homework. Okay. So when we first came here, I think the first year we were here, we stayed at the MGM and it was brand new, and that was the first year.
Yeah.
Then the second year, we stayed at the Union Plaza that was owned by Jackie Gahn.
Yep.
And so I don't know how Michael Gahn saw my name, but he saw that John Growney or Growney Brothers Rodeo Company was at the Union Plaza. So the next year, he made sure we were at the Gold Coast, and that's where he was. And I get a message on my house phone that Mr. Gahn would like to talk to you.
Nice.
And now what did I do, or what? Where did I screw this thing up and everything? And he had a good friend named Mike Growney. And Mike Growney was a retired FBI, just retiring from the FBI, but really close to Michael Gahn. Yep. And so he wanted to know how I was related. Well, just that winter before, remember that there's a plan happening, and you just got to be aware of that plan happening. Just that winter before, I was down in Arizona with my sister, and she'd met these Growneys down there, and they had a restaurant. Well, so I went and met them, and they told me that they had a brother up in Las Vegas named Mike Growney that was an FBI agent. So sure enough, I get to meet him the next year through Michael Gahn, and he's got a son named Ryan Growney. Yep. So Ryan Growney, this Michael Gahn, when he's the boss.
Yeah.
He's not God and he's not Jesus, but there's some room for him down there really close. He knows him really well.
He's on the carpet.
Right.
Yeah.
So he tells me, you know, first of all, he introduces me to Mike Growney at the NFR, and Ryan's there, and I think Ryan's 13 or 14 years old.
Wow.
And so we're meeting him, and then Michael Gunn, and this is how he works. He goes, he'll come and work for you when he's old enough to drive. You know, there was me saying yes or no or anything. He'll be there.
Yep.
And so this Ryan was a straight A student. I can't even tell some of the stuff that went on. But anyway.
It's okay. He did, actually.
This kid never missed a day of school. I mean, he was, if there's a such thing as a nerd, he was almost there, but he was in pretty good shape and he had a good mind. But he hadn't been exposed to the cowboy way of life. So anyway, between Lloyd Faria and Donnie Kish, they balanced this kid out, and we taught him to be a cowboy and taught him how to, you know, just taught him our world. Yeah. And he worked for us for 8 years in a row. Even when he was going to Georgetown, he'd still come home in the summertime and work for us. And so he was really smart. But I know, you know, when you come in our world, you grow up fast.
Yep.
And he'd never driven in his life, and I had a 4-speed feed wagon, and there was something going on. I think the high school rodeo finals were going on in Red Bluff. So I took him up to this lot that I knew. This guy that has a lot of trucks and everything, and the lot's big. And I get him in this truck, and you know the old clutches popping and everything else. But about a half hour into this kid's caught on. He knows how to do it. I go get in the other rig. I say, I'll meet you at the fairgrounds. You go get some hay at the house, and I'll meet you at the fair. So here's this 15-year-old driving this truck in Red Bluff, knowing he's illegal and everything else, but he still did it. And then it's not a couple of days later, he's with Lloyd Faria, and Lloyd's driving. Lloyd is one of our pickup men, and you know, I surrounded myself with great guys, and he's a great guy. Nice. So anyway, Ryan's with him, and Ryan's got his new leather gloves, you know, that he bought just before he came to Red Bluff and everything. And Lloyd goes, oh, I see you got some gloves. And he goes, where'd you get those? And then Ryan pulls them out, and Lloyd goes, let me see those. And Ryan hands him them gloves, and Lloyd throws those gloves out the window.
Oh, gosh.
And I go, we don't wear gloves around here.
That's great. We didn't tell us that one, did he?
It's a lot of lessons that I learned. But now, you know, I was proud to have him, and he's a Growney, and we just found out through DNA the other day that he's like a 7th cousin or something like
awesome.
that.
Yeah,
that's so my great grandfather and my great grandfather, they turned out to be brothers. So, but back in those days, you know, when somebody left the nest and went to the West Coast of California, they lost contact. They didn't have a clue. And so anyway. I'm really proud of him.
You sure molded him pretty doggone good.
But I didn't have a lot to do with it. Don Kish and Lloyd Faria, and then the world itself molded him. Yeah. He did. There was a lot more things out there than he ever thought about.
Ryan's like, so we interviewed Ryan, and everything that you were talking about, that's how we were able to kind of segue in there, because we interviewed him. I've actually got to interview him quite a few times, but when Robbie and I did, he was open about that, his life, and there's that. Look, we can talk about Ryan for a good long time. He is polished. He doesn't miss a beat. He's a great guy. But obviously, if you guys are related and meeting you, you're a great guy. I mean, you guys are really good speakers. You're just engaging. There's something in the Growney blood.
There is.
Right?
We don't shut up. But the thing about it, school got in my way of my life. But I did go to college for 8 years, but the classes really got in the way of the social.
So you're Dr. John Growney?
I could have been real easy. I always, you know, nowadays you're older and a little more mature, not a lot more mature. I know if I had just tried just a little bit harder, I'd have graduated with a good degree and done something. But
by golly, look how much fun you wouldn't have had.
Right.
Yeah, because you're not doing anything today.
Right. Well, I'm really not. But, you know, I did my senior project on getting into the rodeo business. Yep. And as soon as I had it complete, I left. I still had about 20 units left to take, but I knew already in my mind what I wanted to do. But if anybody's out there listening, go to college. Yeah. Because, and if you don't graduate, the people you meet at school will be influential in your life the rest of your life. 100%. And in my rodeo business, they had you know, for fairgrounds, managers, they actually had a class on being a manager of a fair.
Nice.
And a lot of those kids that I knew through agriculture and through Cal Poly ended up becoming fair managers, and it opened the door for me to get a lot of those rodeos that are during fairs and stuff. So it's just
great.
There's so many doors that open for you when you're coming out of college.
John, you brought up Cal Poly, so we had Ben Londo on, and wow,
Great kid.
that sharp guy,
Yeah.
another sharp guy. Kind of segue out of this. So now think about it, you're bringing this up. Where do you think rodeo is right now? You're seeing things and you see it right at the forefront. How do you feel about it?
You don't even want to ask me because, okay, how much time do we have? Because it's a segment of its own. If we don't tear this association one of these days, if the good guys don't compete against themselves and leave the little guys alone, they keep asking, where's all the little guys? Where's all our guys coming up? We break them. It costs so much money to live in this world alone. And now you go, I've got a nephew, J.C. Trujillo's grandson. And, he went to one rodeo with his permit to Brawley, California. He wins the bull ride, and he doesn't even hesitate. He goes and buys his card because he wants to go to Denver, Fort Worth, Cheyenne, all those rodeos. Yeah. And you got to draw the best horses to beat the Casey Fields, and and then the bull riding. In high school, he was a great bull rider, and if you get on the mediocre bulls, he could ride them, spur them, he could do anything, and he rode better than I ever rode in my life. But the bulls out there now are so rank that these young kids coming out of high school, they think they're bull riders, and all of a sudden there's another level of bulls that they're getting on that are hard to ride.
Yeah, that goes back to
I really believe that we have got to stop that, and we have got, if we're going to be pro rodeo, and that's our logo. Yeah. Give me the pros getting on the best stock at the best rodeos and leave them out of those other rodeos, because there'll be plenty of kids to satisfy, and most of them do in the lower end rodeos go there. But a lot of them don't figure it out, and then we break them, and then we lose them.
We cripple them. So I see
financially
so many kids,
cripple them.
Yeah, both. Yeah. And like you said, with these bulls nowadays and these kids that as things are getting on, I have a really good seat to some really bad stuff a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it scares me when I see these kids, and I'm thinking, good gosh. I mean, can you imagine these high school kids, even Red Rock now, and as good as he was, he would be in the middle now.
Right. I mean, he probably wasn't what some of these bulls are now.
Wow.
So when we
breedings go, and it's rough on these kids.
So when we go even further, rodeo's hard to market. Yeah. All my committee, hey, John, here's this guy from this TV station. Will you talk to him? I'm going to tell him the same thing I told him last year. I can't. Totally. There's nothing new, because I don't know who's coming. I don't know who's entered on what day. Yeah. I don't even know if he's going to enter the rodeo, and then I don't know if he's going to show up and get on that thing. True. So how do you market something like that? And that's where I learned through Lane and Red Rock was we were marking this two months ahead of time. We knew where he was going to be and what day he was going to be up, and that's how we did it. And so they had sellout crowds because people came to see something that they understood, and it was marketed.
I'm just going to say this, is the American kind of that model when you look at
it? It is. PBR's that model. Everybody, but we I could go. I got so many. We are ran by people. One of my favorite saying is, we're still in 1954, and the only thing that's changed is the shape of a cowboy hat, because we're passed to us from generation to generation how we did it in 1954. Yep. And those days are gone. And if we can't market, I need the ability. I want to know 2 months ahead of time when you're up and when you're going to get there, and you're going to be there. And then I would like to know a month ahead of time what horse or bull you have drawn, so I can make a contest out of it. Yeah. So I can sell it to the media, and they'll be waiting for you when you get there. But now I can't sell nothing.
That's fascinating, because obviously working on the promotional marketing side of the NFR, I 100% understand that. And for us, we're always talking about the experience and the competition, but there's never a point. And when we do it, we really only have 24 hours to do it, right? Once the selection's done, we have 24 hours to promote the matchup, but that's it.
Those people have already decided they're going somewhere else, and it doesn't mean anything. Here again, we were at St. Paul, Oregon, and Trevor's probably getting tired of hearing this story, but it's a true story. Anyway, Trevor finds a circuit guy to trade with. Timed eventers can trade. Yep. He gets both his calves, both his team rope and steers in the slack, and he's gone. Biggest 4th of July rodeo in the world, and he is gone. And so I see him in the hospitality tent, and I tell him what I'm seeing, and he had a great answer. He goes, John, I don't really make money rodeoing. I make it from my sponsors. and my sponsor's buying me because of my gold buckles, I win. So his answer was correct.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the right thing to hear. But it wasn't a
From the promoter side.
From the, right
Exactly.
to marketing and
Yes,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
I understand
So
that.
how do I, if the world champion, the greatest time eventer ever lived, has been there and gone, and he probably placed at that rodeo.
Yeah.
And it was in the slack.
It's a non-story now.
Non-story. Never was a story because I couldn't tell you he was coming. So it's not a week and a half later. We're at Salinas and we're in the slack, and I'm down at the strip and shoot for the timed event cattle. And one of the directors on the board, but that's his little area. And if you've been to Salinas, you don't cross into that area. That's his area. So he's there, and he's telling me about this gray horse he just bought about 2 months before that, and how much better he's roping. And so I know that this guy is a director on the Salinas board. He owns a rope horse, and he loves roping. So we're visiting, so he doesn't hear the name. Trevor Brazil's up in the slack, and he comes riding in there. They're taking the rope off. So I'm just having a little conversation with Trevor, how you doing, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he starts to ride away. And this director, who ropes, goes, who is that?
Oh, man.
So without saying his name, I go, hey, and I holler at Trevor, and I go, the word I used was a little different than I would use today, but Trevor rides back and he goes, what is it, John? And I go, this guy wants to know who in the frick you are.
Yes.
Because and this guy, if he doesn't know who Trevor Brazil is, there is nobody in that grandstand knows who Trevor
Correct.
Brazil is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so we failed Trevor Brazil,
Yep.
and Trevor Brazil failed us.
Yeah.
And that's got to stop.
That's
The
a great
marketing.
point.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that is with the PBR and stuff like that. They know where they're going. You can promote it. It's
Yeah.
secure.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you want to be in the PBR, you'll be there.
You're going to be there.
Right,
Yeah,
you'll
you
go
don't-
out of your way. You'll
Yes.
you'll drag yourself somewhere
Yes,
because
sir.
they'll get rid of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are some big checks they're giving away in the PBR.
Right,
I mean, that's
right.
a big draw.
But we could, once we start marketing and once we start growing a fan base and that doing the right things, we can start paying those guys more money.
Oh,
But
yeah.
until we start doing stuff like that, we're stuck in 1954, and it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
man, that completely
and
makes sense.
And it's such a small demographics of the agriculture. I mean, you can't go to Pepsi, you can't go to here, or you can't because somebody, they don't understand.
Right.
First of all, they don't understand our way
Right.
of life. Obviously, we
Right.
know that.
And we need a fan base. Really, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's just an experience.
Yeah.
You're going in the dirt. You're going to wear your boots, your cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have fun. You're going to have a party. You're going to do that.
Yeah.
But you never really got to meet any of the champions. There's so many great. You're going to do an interview with a great man.
Oh, we're
and
looking
and
forward
there's
to it.
so many great kids out there that could do an interview with you that could help sell them, and you could sell rodeo.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That's pretty much
so
what
I hope
this is.
I hope the commissioner, this commissioner, is listening because I've been to his ear before. I've been to everybody's ear,
Taylor
but
listens.
nobody's listened.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I know we're short on time, right?
That's
Mr.
good.
Brown, we could hang out with her for. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like marketing, and I love the marketing side of when you apply it to the actual competition. What I'm learning today is fantastic. And
Right.
man,
Well,
thank you,
he
John.
is as good. He's a champion in both. I mean,
Yeah.
the production side and
I had,
It's
and
fun to
I
be
know we're in a
around.
hurry. My whole life I've been blessed with people coming into my life at the right time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to school at Cal Poly, and this young guy, his first name was John, and he had an Irish name, and he had 6 kids or 7 kids. He was with 3M. He was one of the top executives with 3M, and he knew marketing. He knew it so well, and he could really teach us. So he left because he was the alcohol, the socializing part
Yep.
of being at 3M, meeting all these companies and corporations or anything. He started drinking more than he was supposed to. So he finally walked away from 3M and became an instructor, a teacher there at Cal Poly. And he was the greatest instructor ever. And he's the one that really instilled in my mind that everything is marketing. We market ourselves, we market our product, we market everything. And we're not doing that.
I agree. A mentor of mine used to tell me is like when marketing does its job, everyone gets to keep theirs.
There's right. Amen.
Yeah.
That was a good one, too.
yeah.
Right.
that's exactly.
Well, and I got a job, so
And George Taylor comes out of marketing. I know he knows,
I
but the stone walls that he's running into in rodeo, these young cowboys, some of the kids that run the association are the gold buckles and the kids that have done well, and everybody else looks up to them. So what they don't like, we don't like, and so somewhere along the way, we almost need to whitewash that generation out of the way and get these young kids believing in what you're selling.
yeah. Wow.
That's
a
a
great
good.
interview.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think George is doing a good job.
He's trying his guts out, and I love him, and I just know that he's the guy that we needed. But when those guys, okay, don't get me started. Cowboys are cowboys.
Yeah.
They're not executives. They're not businessmen. There ain't nothing about running a business, and they're running this thing.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And a stock contractor business is not in
Well,
the
you can kick them
Georgetown
out.
business
Right,
plan either.
You can kick them out too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not a business model that you would want to put on the blackboard and
No,
show the kids.
I have been broke. I've been in this for 42 years. You just survive. I had a friend that's made a lot of money at home. He goes, John, if you'd have thought about making money, you would have made money. But you thought surviving was.
Yes,
I was successful because I survived another year.
Yes, and you just hope December came and
Right.
went on and you could start over. That's everybody in the rodeo business. You're just trying to make enough money for the slow months, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. That January, February, March, you had your credit cards paid up because they were maxed in March.
I do it every year about September. I've got 5 or 6 big rodeos, and that's what I use. and I start nest egging about then to get you through and right through here. And this is the most expensive. Taxes due, everything, and
See,
until you've lived it.
You haven't. You're living pretty good because if taxes are due, you made some money. I got the IRS audited me. And I don't care if they're out there anyway. They audited me about the 5th year I was in the rodeo business. They've never been back since. They must have a note there. Just don't waste your time.
Here, we're going to end up paying him. Let's leave it. John,
man.
what a great day.
Yeah, thank you, John.
so
Thank you
much.
guys.
Wonderful.
You're getting the word out, and I hope a lot of people
thank
are
you.
following this and knowing that the greatest icon in the world is the American cowboy.
Absolutely.
100%.
Solid as a rock.
Thank you very much,
so
John. This is great. To celebrate the 35th anniversary of the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, LVE and PRCA present the top 35 most memorable moments.
The movie 8 Seconds is all about the life and death of world champion bull rider Lane Frost. Frost is known for his 1987 World Championship, but he was pretty shiny at the NFR in 1986. He rode 9 out of 10 bulls, won the average, and if it hadn't been for the legendary bull Red Rock in round 6, Frost, not Jim Sharp, would have been the first cowboy to go 10 for 10 at the NFR in bull riding.
He's always ridden good. He's a very talented young man. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you have just seen could be a deciding factor of everything in the bull riding.
Frost went on to win the world in 1987 after placing in 6 rounds and finishing 3rd in the NFR average.
Here's the changeup. He's not going to quit. Lane Frost is going to come from right. Look out. Boy.
Lane Frost would get the last laugh on Red Rock. The two faced off in the Challenge of Champions in 1987. It was a world champion cowboy against a world champion bull. Frost made the whistle 4 times in the best of 7 match.
Come on, Lane. Come on, Lane. Oh, this boy does ride.
Lane Frost tragically died in the arena at the 1989 Cheyenne Frontier Days. A statue now stands in his honor. Lane Frost was inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1990, right alongside his old friend, Red Rock.
Wherever you listen to the NFR Extra podcast, whether it be on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google Play, or even YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And let us know what you think of this episode or any episode by leaving a comment. Robbie, man.
We're having a good day.
Where's your emotions at?
Yeah, Growney's something. He's great.
Yeah,
we got
man.
another cool guy in here, though. Now we get to get back over in the contestant side of this.
Yes.
And
I'm not gonna mess up your name, Brad. It's Gjermundson, right?
Gjermundson.
We're gonna stay with it. 4-time world champ, saddle bronc. Brad Gjermundson's joining the show.
I got to preface this him a little bit.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, as a kid I'm the only kid in my family at rodeo, and I rode bareback horses for 16 years, and I used to have all the posters and the CLG stuff and all the old riggings and stuff like that, and I used to have this cool picture of Brad. I don't know, it was a big old flaxen mane sorrel. It was the black and white. It was just it was such a cool picture. And he was always one of my favorites. So the first rodeo I ever saw in my life, like on television, Heston used to do Sunday, the last day. You remember when they have the final perf, 1984, and at Okie City there at the Myriad. And I remember watching Brad, and that was That was great. Perkins is down hard. Do you remember Sam Perkins got jerked down?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, off of.
That was
What's the name of that horse?
Sippin' Velvet.
Sippin' Velvet. Perkins is down hard. Do you remember? And those guys, we talk about bull riding heroes. We've done a lot of that. This is a bronc riding hero right here.
Yeah.
This is that era of them. That was the wild rag guys.
Well, and so obviously, Brad, you 80s, Las Vegas, NFR. I mean, some crazy times going here, bringing the rodeo here. What was it like coming from Oklahoma City or in the world of that, coming to Vegas, and just how was it coming to Vegas? Was it a bigger, different experience coming here, or I mean, did it make you perform different, think different?
Not really perform any different. You're looking at matched up with the best horses in the world against the best cowboys in the world at the time, and there was a difference. The first year in Las Vegas, of course, the money made all the difference. They doubled the purse, and that made all the difference. But what the biggest difference was the crowd. You came, there was most of town didn't know the rodeo was in town.
Correct, I was here.
And compared to Oklahoma City, everybody there in a big area around Oklahoma City knew the rodeo was in town.
Yeah.
And I mean, people that probably never been on a horse or you'd see people wear spurs to church and spurs in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
And I mean, you would. I mean,
Well, it's
they'd
cowboy
dress
country,
up, and everybody had, everybody wore a cowboy hat that week and dressed Western. And when we got to Vegas, it was just a few fans.
How was that crowd back in '85? I've always wondered that. I mean, how was it? It wasn't full, obviously. I mean,
there was a lot of people had season tickets in Oklahoma City, but they were from, so this was quite a trip for them to
get out
to
here.
take and to spend the money on a season ticket for that far ahead of time, and I'm sure. But boy, looking back, it would have been very valuable to buy a couple rows in a couple sections.
Ain't that the truth, Brad?
Yes. Thank you, Wrangler.
Well, they were giving away tickets back in '85. I want to say the first two, it was whatever you can do to get everyone in the building.
Oh yeah, I mean every pit boss at every casino really was promoting it and trying to, if you, I had heard lots of people say, they just, played blackjack for a couple hours there and they got a couple free tickets.
To go to the rodeo. Try that now. Ask them. Yeah, go over there and say, hey, you got a couple rodeo tickets? No, but we'll give you a buffet.
Or you can go in our sports book and watch it.
Yes, you can go in our sports book right now and sell packages of hotels, as Rump used to say.
So let's stay on the NFR. How special was that fourth? There were some things that came to that, or how was that for you? And winning your tie, was it special in Vegas?
Oh yeah, very special. Because for one thing, the go rounds went from 4,000 to 8,000, and so you had just more opportunity, and but as far as just the horses didn't change a lot or anything like that, and the cowboys, from one year didn't change much. Every year there's a couple new ones, or sometimes 3 or 4, but they stay pretty much the same for a period of years, and then the older ones start dropping out, and the younger ones and step in,
Right. Yeah. Back when you were going and stuff, who was some of the guys that you travel with? Who was your traveling partner a lot? Who did you like to go with a lot?
Well, I started out Butch Small, Clint Johnson,
Brown hat.
Mel Coleman. He'd been to the finals
names
and he was probably. Ivan Daines, the first year I went to the NFR.
Really?
Or I ended up the first year in 1980. Ivan was his last year there, and I ended up 19th that year, my rookie year.
No kidding.
And then in 81, actually started off rodeoing with a guy from Montana named Jim Croft, who just passed away from a horse accident.
Oh, no.
And we were rodeoing together, and he was 10th in the world in July when he broke his leg at a rodeo in Buffalo, Minnesota, and then
he just never rodeoed hard after that again, but was a great bronc rider.
Right. So those years that you went to the NFR, I know obviously that's a goal, and to build those guys up to get there. I mean, it's pretty cool to come out here with all those guys in that same old pickup truck, probably, wasn't it? No fly-ins then.
Not much. No, it was you drove everywhere, and Dwayne Danes and Merlin Fairbanks and lots of guys that they all went to the finals many times and stuff. But
I bet that old locker room was fun down there, wasn't it? Yeah.
Bobby Brown, Monty Henson, and
can you
David Botham, Butch Knowles. They were all their years, not all their years. They were there before me, and then I got to go with them several years, and
God,
it's
so
a tough
cool
bunch
people.
because and nobody was scared to rub it in a little bit when you.
Yeah. So I guess that was the Hawkeye days, and can you believe Hooter is flying an airplane now with Donnie Gay?
I flew with Hooter a few times. Butch and I got in with him going somewhere, and Donnie, we went with him a few times, just from rodeo to rodeo, and they were all just very helpful, and stuff, and willing to, I was interested in flying and could, ask a lot of questions. And
I am too. I fly with Donnie a lot all the time.
Okay. Sit back there and just shut up a minute. Let me get this thing landed.
So, and this is fascinating because when we interviewed Donnie, we were talking about that. So clearly, this was something that opened up the business a little better. People flying to rodeos, or I mean, is that kind of what really helped? I mean,
oh yeah, there was a few guys way back flew a lot. I mean, I think. And,
sure.
Larry Mahan, I remember him flying into Killdeer, North Dakota on 4th of July, and I think I was 10 years old, and I still got the straw hat with him and Jim Mahalik's, his traveling bareback riding traveling partner. Still got the hat with their autographs in it.
I love Killdeer. No kidding. Killdeer's a great little town too. If you're gonna eat, sleep, go to the post office and everything, it's at one bar, isn't it? Right there. Everything there.
That's awesome.
It's changed a little now. The oil industry has changed.
I imagine.
It's good,
yeah, there's 2 bars now and 1 laundromat.
And you get your insurance there as well.
Yes, no kidding. What a cool. That is. So when you were traveling like that and stuff, and those guys that were traveling with you, obviously, there wasn't a rodeo cutoff then, was it? I mean,
No, you could. That was
get entered.
All part of. I looked at it as all part of being a world champion is going to as many as you could, and not driving by one. And I went in 1982. I entered 210 rodeos, and I went to 155, and a lot of them were the Houston. San Antonio, the big ones where there are 3 or 4 headers, so
wow, it's a lot of broncs.
It's a lot of broncs, a lot of miles, and
how's your body today because of that?
You look like you're getting around.
Seriously,
right?
that's why I asked that.
I get stiff back or stiff, or if I stay active, things kind of seems like in the wintertime things you don't stay as active as you should. I can feel myself getting sored up easier and stuff, but for the most part, I still feel real good.
Nice.
Well, you work some too. That helps.
I stay busy, but it's not,
Right. How long would it take you to wear out a saddle? I mean, from when you broke one in, they used to say they'd run over it with a truck and throw it in the bathtub, to break it in.
Yeah.
But how long would a saddle last back then at 155 rodeos a year, or getting on?
In my 20-year career, from 76, I got my first saddle. Till 2000, I used 2 saddles.
Nice.
Oh my gosh! Because in the bareback riding, about every 6 months, you're looking for some more rawhide, because it just gives up.
In 1976, my dad bought. There's 2 neighbors of ours, Scott Grass and Kent Dressler, and myself all wanted saddles, and my dad bought 3 bronc saddles and a El Toro bucket machine from G Bar G.
Right.
And those brand new complete saddle was $325.
Oh.
and now they're 18, 19, 2,000, you know,
Good
somewhere's in the
Yeah.
$2,000
Bareback
range.
I remember the first bareback rig that I actually bought that somebody didn't buy for me was $276, and I thought, good gosh, I'm gonna go broke buying bareback riggings, and now they're $800 and $1,800. And like you said,
Can I throw this out there with you guys? Like, and just because the more we talk this cowboy lifestyle and kind of the competition side, and Growney was talking just like we're the young cowboys, or it's hard for them on the money side. The more I'm starting to listen, if you don't have some sort of business mindset as a contestant, there's a good chance you're not going to survive either.
No, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of planning and a lot of just business.
Yep. If you just, and I mean, you got to enter. So you learn to enter the rodeos. You learn who's got the stock and what, depending on how many performances, how many outs them horses are going to get. And, everybody, Harry Vold, for instance, Saturday night, if you got up Saturday night, you were going to be on a horse that you could be in the money on if you did your part. And then there may be sprinkled through there, and like at El Paso years ago was 6-7 performances or something. And back then they didn't subcontract like they do now.
Oh, really?
So you go to a San Antonio or Houston, and Mike Servey had the contract, and there was a little bit of that going on. But now, you get 5 different contractors to come to one. It's way better for the fans. It's way better opportunity for the cowboys. And really, why would a contractor want to haul horses around that they didn't have a chance to win on just for a filler? And then you got more turnouts. So
Exactly. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that has changed a lot. You learn to go which pins are who and who you.
Yep. And different guys, some guys were a first performance, especially in a 3-performance rodeo. If they had a good one, a lot of good horses out on the first performance and the last performance, or however it was, Wow. And, so you just kind of.
It's a science, I guess.
Tried to figure that out. And,
Totally.
And there's you just learn a lot of little benefits or edges, along the way.
Yep.
And they don't always work, but they're high percentage deals.
Right. Did you get out to California much at all? Did you go that way?
Yeah. Well, I was the first 5-6 years I rodeoed, that's all I did. So I liked the Reading, Red Bluff, all that spring run, Oakdale, and
Wood
I went to a
Lakes.
lot of them.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, in the fall, Cow Palace and Salinas in the summer, and they're just ones you got to enter. And I'm sure I didn't make it every time I entered them, but they're good rodeos. And that during Salinas, there's Cheyenne, Salt Lake, Ogden, Nampa, the whole.
It's the same rodeos. I mean, it's so funny to hear them because they went in a camper shell truck, didn't you? A lot.
Well, we actually mostly a car.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know. It just seemed like it was a car or a van or something.
Yeah.
And then plus all the Canadian rodeos, being from North Dakota, they didn't have them much in the winter time. The spring, and it was closer for me to go to Canada. And they had good rodeos there, so I kind of didn't go south as much in the spring and stuff as.
Yep. Yeah. You got up there and get on little Kessler's buckers, didn't you?
Kessler's, Calgary's, Wayne Vold. Yeah, there's a lot of. That's yeah.
Which ride of all these years that you went and won worlds and stuff, which ride stands out to you as your best as far as, you got that one that goes, man, if I could just relive that every time.
Yeah, man, there's so many of them because, and the score doesn't mean anything because there's times you get off and you think, man, you really messed up and could have done better.
Yes,
and
sir.
you're quite a few points. And then there's times when you think, man, I knocked it out of the park and you're 5 points less than you thought you'd be.
Right.
But, I guess answering your question, you touched on a little earlier, the 84 NFR, the last one. And I went in there and I placed in 7 rounds and got bucked off 3 of them. and still won enough in the rounds to. It was a battle between Kent Cooper and I, and I mean, hats off to Kent. He was a great bronc rider and never did end up winning a world title, but it's just the way it goes. And it come down to the last horse, and I had that Try Me of Wayne Volz or Rex Logan's, and it just went in my favor. It was a $400 or $500 spread, and then again, that was the last year in Oklahoma City, and in the first year here, it was down to the last horse with Bud Pauley and I think Clint, and there was 3 or 4 guys the last day had a chance to win it, and I had a horse of Benny Butler's called Good Times. That was
that Bill's Featherson's old horse? Yeah, Good Time Bill Featherson. That's the one that sticks in my head. I was hoping you'd say that.
And that was I'd had that horse a couple times before, and he was bucking horse of the year one year. I'm not sure if it was that year, but unlike the Try Me horse was bucking horse of that year, and I think I'd had that horse earlier in the season and won Innisfail on it, and I'm quite sure if I hadn't had it before, I'd have never made the whistle on it, But
that is amazing.
Past experience always helps,
Well, Brian's a champion. You know that, right? Like, I mean,
yes,
from high school all the way through.
Absolutely. And that's so funny. Like these horses that we're talking about, like when what you were saying when you're getting on, most of these weren't born to buck like this program now. These were like Good Times was probably Bill's old bulldogging horse that was bucking everybody up. That's the difference. That's where, see, when you've come into this, it's so funny to see these old horses and stuff that they were. I mean, like I said, there was no such thing as a breeding program. You just got I mean, there was a little bit from the north up there, but I mean, you had to. But man, mostly it's whole saddle horses and stuff. Golly, and they buck.
One thing about when I started out young, my dad did it, and stuff, and we ranched and rodeoed from when we were, 6 years old, and helped neighbors and did whatever. But when we got into the competition, like into high school, there's a guy from LaGrange, Wyoming, named Gary Walker, and he put on rodeo Bible camps around
yes, sir,
5-state area, kind of Wyoming, Nebraska, Montana, South Dakota. Anyhow, and my dad, he took us, or we got with some other neighbor kids, and we'd go to them. And at them deals, there was a lot of kids that showed up, just very green, just beginning. So they'd have Bible classes and stuff, and then they had rodeo in the afternoon, and then evening classes and stuff, and it was really good. And you could, what they did is they didn't draw the horses. They, this Gary Walker, he matched them up. He hauled his own stock, and if you had some experience, you got the horses that were that actually bucked. And if you didn't have no experience, you got on the ones that
were okay,
exposed themselves at a lope or something.
Right. Yes.
And we'd rodeo. It was a 4-day clinic, and we'd rodeo 3 of them 4 days, and they give awards and we'd do every event. Well, they didn't have bull riding because of the danger and that, but they did all the other timed events and the bareback and bronc riding. And we'd just enter up and do it every day. Well, when you're getting on a horse you can learn something on every day, it's not. I mean, you're gonna get. You're gonna improve fast.
Absolutely, and you didn't overdo it. You didn't get your head knocked off.
Right.
Right.
Yep. And there was nobody there pouring you on them. You were doing it. If you didn't want to get on that day, you just didn't. You just didn't have a chance to win the award.
Interesting.
And then into high school, we were fortunate to have. That was in high school, but then good contractors in our area to have good stock learning on and stuff. And
who was that? Sutton's and
in college, Sutton, Corco's, and that was, Sutton's and Corco's, they had so many, most are college rodeos, and when you're getting on NFR horses at a college level, you get separated real quick on, there's 5-6 guys in our region that had it battled down to the last college rodeo because their horse, you had War Drums and Half Velvet and Part Velvet and Doc and Big Bud and I mean just a truckload of them horses that were.
Now Big Bud, that wasn't Tombstone, or was that
That
what
was Tombstone.
That was Tombstone. You got on him under a saddle too?
7 times.
Oh my gosh! Hey,
and all velvet. I mean, they had lots of
oh
names.
my gosh! I had in high school finals one time. I missed him by one horse, and I would have quit. This thing would not fit in. It was the biggest horse I've ever seen. They called him Tombstone or the Legend or Big Bud.
He was originally Big Bud, and then I think he was all velvet one year when black velvet was something, and I mean, or for a while. And but I don't know if you remember, but back in, I think it was at the 81 NFR, J.C. Trujillo had him.
And killed him.
And he got knocked out riding him and then hung up to him.
Ooh. His feet never touched the ground. I'm telling you, he wouldn't fit in here. He was so tall. He
filled the chute like he was kind of wadded up in there even.
Even to this day, the size of these horses now with Frontier and their big horses and Harry's and all these, he was huge.
He was big like them horses, but he was long. It seemed longer. Golly. I don't know if that's right or not, but
there was an acre of done hair on that thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was scared.
But
did he tug on you?
No, not really. He was just, he didn't take a lot of rein. He just took an average rein, but he'd go out there a couple, 3 or 4 maybe, and then turn back. But he kicked through it every jump, and he was turning, and
he'd swap them old leads up too, wouldn't he? He'd work you. Golly.
So, Brad, you've won at every single level. Like,
yeah, I was real fortunate to start out, have good luck and stick with it, and winning is everything when you're learning. And after even, and I don't really feel like I ever made the perfect ride that I would, and I made on the perfect horse,
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, but you try and stay consistent, and I wasn't be aggressive, set your feet in the trough, make sure your feet are set, and don't make it harder than it is, because if you go, wow, I got a spur higher in the neck, there's a good chance you're gonna reach, and you don't get your feet set good, and they're gonna whip, and then you're out of time, or you're not. You make a controlled ride and do the same thing every time. If I watch a bronc riding today and there's 2 or 3 guys, set their foot every jump, they don't hang, they set their foot every jump, they're supposed to be in the money. I mean, it don't have to be, somebody might have spurred theirs in the main 2 jumps out of the ride.
Yes, sir.
But they maybe only didn't get over the points 3 jumps out of the ride.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy now, because you come to the Wrangler National Finals every year, probably, or dang near it, and especially now with your involvement, but do you enjoy watching these young guys, the Wades and those kids that are riding? I say kids.
The Wright brothers.
Yeah,
all of them.
They're all, and they're, they all ride good, really good, and the ones that, some of the ones that they don't make the finals every year. I mean, this year, one kid that I've been very impressed with for a lot of years is Coburn Bradshaw.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just you have a bad year, or something goes wrong, you don't make it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But he, watching, and nothing against any of them, but no matter what kind of horse Coburn gets on, it seems like he sets his feet in the right spot. He doesn't try to do it, and he makes a controlled, good spur ride. And you can only work with what you got. No different than, in them times in the calf rope. And if Tough Cooper was 6'9" last night, I mean, he took advantage of the calf that he had, and not every you can't be 6'9" on every calf, and every one of them guys are capable of it.
Right. I was
like,
just,
you can't force it, right?
I was at the bronc futurity thing the other day for Stace, and I saw Colburn there, and I saw Shorty.
Yeah.
I bet you Shorty got on 23 horses. I ain't never in my life. I was like, we just called his name again. Those guys, but that's the deal. What bronc riding, we were talking about yesterday with Tough, even once you learn bronc riding, your body, it eases up some. I mean, it still beats on you, but them first few years of learning to ride broncs is brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, they are. Yep. And it really does. It's worse if you're just getting on random horses. But if you could be set up to get a pen of horses, 4 or 5 horses, and don't overdo it any one day, but that are jump, get some air and help.
Yes, sir.
So you can learn to set your feet and stay ahead of them. That's the whole thing.
Okay, so when we talk about pro sports and they have the off season and there's training, where do you have? I'm sure it applies today and even back when you were riding. Where's the time in between for practice?
Well, that was kind of tough. When we started, we had some neighbors, the Neidhart Ranch, that they put together. They put horses together, bought and sold killer horses, and if there was something that looked like it would be something that would work,
right.
If there's enough of us going, that we'd go try them,
That's got to be tough, though. I mean, nowadays where a stock contractor have 50 of them.
Well,
how did y'all do that? That's,
well, I think the colleges nowadays, and I know in our area, the colleges, it's kind of a recruiting tool. They will help out or let some of the high school kids come in and try and practice with them a little bit,
Really?
or they've got a bucking machine. And big thing is staying, in shape. Not just weightlifting shape and that, but because when you ride broncs, you use different muscles and you can never figure out how to use them muscles in a weight room. Probably,
yes, sir. No,
That completely makes sense.
Yeah. So there's I guess that's the things that you can do to stay in shape or practice in the off season. And I think most of them guys that got a bucking horse program, they're looking for people to get some outs on their horses.
Oh, wow.
They got to be shoot broke.
Those spring fling.
So I mean, if you're out there and you need something, and if you know somebody raising them, even if it takes your help to go, maybe don't get on them the first couple times they're in the chute, but saddle them and play with them, and so that when you do, there's nothing worse than having to trying to learn and get on one that's tied in, tailed in, and blindfolded. There's a good chance you're not going to learn nothing that trip.
Yes, but that's the Colt curse, though, isn't it? See, these guys will have these, all these stock contractors. Dave Moorhead has a great time. They get out a cooler beer and cook out, and they have a spring buck off.
Really?
And that's where
That sounds like fun.
4-year-olds. It's fun, but you're sore when you leave there. All of them do that. Can you imagine going to Kessler's or something and doing that? Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Everybody calls their colts. Everybody's colts are a different age, from 2 to 7.
Isn't that the truth?
The reason why I bring up the practice, I'm always trying to correlate pro sports, because we're dealing with humans in the middle of this thing. And most important in the rodeo, obviously horses and stock and whatnot. But, when you think about guys like Kobe Bryant, they'd say, in between games, after games, he would stay in the gym for an hour, 2 hours and shoot 1,000 shots. Just making it up a little bit. But unfortunately for you guys, you don't get that. You can't go ride a bronc 1,000 times. No. You might die. It wouldn't be healthy.
Right.
That's the part that I think we don't talk. There's a lot of things we don't talk about when it comes out rodeo, but where you get that out. And by the way, you only get 8 seconds.
Sure.
That's what you're shooting for. So
right.
I'm always trying to wrap my mind around that. When you were winning, because obviously you won from a teenager right on to a pro. What were you doing in between these multi-day rodeos, specifically the NFR? What do you do? And we're talking to this Tough yesterday, and this is still the part of the fan that I look at is okay, so you rode the night before, and you got to wait 24 hours to ride 8 seconds. What were you doing in between that? What was the consistency you would do every day to keep your mind right?
Well, whether you won or lost on your last ride, it was on your mind.
Yeah.
And more so, trying to think about what you could have done better on the last one.
Yep.
You know what horse you got if it's within the next day, and you're, You know, where have you seen that horse? It's constantly in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, and if it isn't, you're not trying as hard as you should.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's great.
Well, Brad, would it distract you though a little bit if, like, say for instance, it's kind of like I think of like a cornerback, right? He gets burnt for a touchdown and he can't get it out of his head. And you're like, man, you got to move on to the next one because this guy's gonna line up again. He's gonna do it again. You know, like, how do you do that? How do you pull that out of your mind?
When you get on, if you're prepared as much as you can be prepared, and it don't go your way, you obviously thought you give it the best chance you had. Hats off to that horse, and you gotta leave it behind you. If you worry about that one the next 3 days while you're getting on something else, you're not gonna win on the other 3 either.
Yeah, we see that too. You'll see someone come blazing into the NFR and then just, I mean, one bad hap and it's just, man, they can't gain ground and it's just it's a nightmare from that on.
And at the NFR, your whole week is kind of develops around them first 2 nights.
Yeah.
Because them first 2 nights in the rough stock, when you get here, you know what stock you got.
Yeah.
And if you're a first timer here, and you go, yeah, I know what I got, but you don't really process that in your mind and get it. Well, I gotta and always stick to the basics as far as, you know, if you don't lift on your rein, you're not gonna get a good spur out. If you don't hold your feet, you're gonna hang a jump or two. So I mean, it's just things you gotta revolve in your mind time after time. And if it don't go your way that first night, I mean, that's and you tried as hard as you could, you can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, that's right. You can't get it back.
You can't say that, I wish I'd have done this, or I just had done that, because that's just the way, and you better forget about it. Forget about what happened in round 1 and look forward to round 2.
Absolutely.
Pushing pause is what you do, don't you? Just
seriously.
Sure. Nothing in this world will make you ride worse than a square wheel bronco. I mean, for about 3 weeks, doesn't it? It takes it to get out of your system. I mean, or nothing will get you set back. You'll have to get on that one good one time, you know.
And you can get there and be so happy with what you got drawed, and because it's, you know, you won on him the last time you had him, that don't mean he's gonna have that same trip, and that don't mean he ain't gonna. Might have might not leave there quite right, and there's a lot of things, but you got to be ahead of it. You can't wait for them to make the first move. You got to make the first move.
Wow.
And your spurs are on your boots for a reason.
That's right. Now, this is good, and I've enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
This is fantastic.
We get. I love interviewing my heroes and talking. I'm not even interviewing. This is a visit session.
When we talk to a champion like this, you know, obviously reading his resume here, he's very consistent. So obviously you have a system, a pattern, and things that has worked for you. And you know, that's how champions are champions. It's
dedication and try and stuff. And when I was rodeoing hard, like I said, 155 rodeos that one year.
Jeez, man.
And that, you know, if there was a rodeo going on and I had a day I could, it'd be like you guys missing a day's work. You know? I mean,
absolutely.
And I really, after I got them 5-6 years and behind me, I did go back. I did start driving by some rodeos I didn't think were as important, and that stuff just for health and safety reasons. But that's a young guy starting out and stuff, or hitting the road for the first couple of years, that you're indestructible. You know what you think? So I mean,
I can do 2 rodeos a day.
No picking and choosing. It's so funny to watch the bronc riders. You know, this era, because anytime they're around him, he is the. You know, he's an icon. They're not. It's fun to watch.
But I like that you're very just low key. Your demeanor is just nice and just humble. And I mean, like, you could be telling us, I can tell you whatever. I'm a champion, high school, college, pros. But you're, man, got a great demeanor. This is good stuff.
They crown new champions every year.
True.
So, I mean, it don't. It don't pay to. You can talk all you want, but if your actions took care of your business, that's all you need.
I would say yours did pretty good. Gosh, we sure appreciate you coming on here and visiting with us. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it.
You bet. Thank you so much, Brad. All right.
Thanks for listening to the NFR Extra podcast. Make sure to give us a review and rating on wherever you listen to NFR Extra. For more information regarding the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, visit nfrexperience.com. And follow Las Vegas NFR on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube.
Gotta make it out to Vegas, where the big boys roam, with the rovers and the racers and the bulls and the broncs, and the ladies in the skin-tight wranglers and the cowboy hats. And it don't get